Lions game coming up, game of the week again. I'm assuming it's Fox. We should get the Tom Brady
No,
crew.
I think it's CBS this week.
Oh, gotcha. So we'll get Nance and Romo.
Yeah, I got it right here. Hold on. Yeah, it's CBS. It's Nance and Romo.
How big is this game to you?
I think it's going to mean a lot for seeding for both conferences because the Lions are 12-1. The Eagles are trying to catch them, and the Bills are trying to catch the Chiefs, which I think is a little harder now than it was as recently as last week. But they've got the Steelers on their heels, as we mentioned. Steelers are at Philly. Bills are at Detroit. So those are four teams locked into very tight races at the top of their respective conferences. So I think there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching, maybe not by the players, but by people like us, because of what's going on between those four teams in those two conference races. So I think this is probably not as catastrophic if you lose it from an AFC tiebreaker standpoint. And I was looking at it last week between the Bills and the Steelers, and they don't have enough common games yet to use that as a tiebreaker. I think they only have 3, but right now the Bills are ahead based on strength of victory. And obviously, if you get a win over the Lions, your strength of victory would be very good again. You'd love to have it. You don't want to drop 2 in a row. I don't know that it's catastrophic if you lose it. I know fans will feel otherwise because, they're ready to jump off of bridges every time they lose a football game. But I think that's the most intriguing part of it for me. This is impacting the top of 2 conference races because of what's going on in Philadelphia with the Steelers and the Eagles. So that's the dynamic that I think is very unique this weekend, maybe more than anything else.
Yeah, I'm with you. Those are some great points there. All right, so Lions defense extremely banged up. They've got 13 guys on IR or something on the defense side of the football. Bills defense gets gashed last week, so everyone's thinking, here comes this high flying affair in Detroit this Sunday at 4:00. Is that how you see it shaking out?
I just think that this is going to be the biggest physical test the Bills have faced this season. And after Sean McDermott basically laid it out after last week's game, saying we didn't bring it at the line of scrimmage on offense or defense. And by the way, he's right. I think it's a challenge to both offensive and defensive lines for the Bills to, at the very least, match and hopefully succeed or exceed what the Lions can bring to the line of scrimmage. They're known as one of the most physical teams in the league. Their motto is grit. And it doesn't really go much further than that. So I think the challenge here is at the line of scrimmage for the Bills' offensive and defensive lines, because if you don't match it, you're going to get steamrolled and embarrassed on national television. So if you're fine with that, then lay down, because you're going to get railroaded by this team. They don't apologize to anybody. They believe they are the most physical team in the league. So what can you do to prove them wrong, or at least prove you're up to the test and match that? Because that's what it's going to take to beat this football team.
Yeah, they most certainly emulate the personality of their head coach, Dan Campbell. The way they play, as physical as they are, the risks they take throughout the game on 4th down. I mean, they emulate his personality. Do you find yourself rooting for Dan Campbell?
He's an easy guy to root for.
I agree.
Because he's an old school kind of mentality in terms of a coach, but he's not annoying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Walter Payton was my favorite player growing up. So when I finally saw him get an opportunity to win a Super Bowl in '85 as a young guy, I was happy for him. And Ditka was pure old school, as we know, but there were some times where he was just annoying, or would say something stupid, or would be a little pig-headed about something. And I think Dan Campbell is the modern version of that, because I think he knows how to cater to players, but still be given the tough love, if you will, to make sure, they're on their P's and Q's. And so I think he's done a good job of embodying a lot of old school principles to get results from your players without being pig-headed about some things too. I think he's pliable enough where he's not compromising his principles, but he's catering to the needs of his players at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and he's been exposed enough in the media through Hard Knocks and all of the recorded post-game locker room speeches that it's not smoke and mirrors. It's not fake. He is who he is. I love how he wears his emotion on his sleeve. He cries at every other press conference talking about his guys or what that victory meant to them. To me, just seems like a genuine dude. Obviously, won't be rooting for him this week, but we were talking about it this weekend as a family, maybe waiting in line for a ride at Disneyland or something, about who our second favorite team was behind the Bills. Our kids are finally grasping that it's shouldn't be an AFC team. And I think everyone in our household agreed that it's the Lions at this point. So it'll be a fun matchup this
Well,
weekend.
yeah, I mean, the Bills and the Lions will be easy for the rest of the country to root for because they don't have a Super Bowl title to their name. The Lions have been doormats forever. Everybody knows about the Bills' 17-year playoff drought. And I think Buffalo's fan base is easy to root for because they do a lot of great things to support other fan bases with, charitable causes and stuff. And, the Lions and Bills they're easy to root for when you feel like they're teams that do it the right way, that haven't had a lot of luck. See colon Chiefs here, because it's funny. I was getting on the elevator after the game in LA last week, and I'm getting on with a bunch of Rams workers, and we're talking. And they're like, "Oh, that was an entertaining game. Sorry about the loss." I was like, "It's all right. Whatever. We had just won 7 in a row." And the first thing the guy said to me next, he goes, "Now I'm just hoping that the Chargers can somehow beat the Chiefs because I'm so sick of that team." I think the entire NFL country of fans is just worn out from the Chiefs, worn out. And that's an NFC West team. Like, they never
Right.
see them.
I know. Yeah, it's gotten to that point. The luck is unbelievable, and it just keeps getting worse. I mean, the doink a field goal to win it
With
again.
your third kicker this season on your roster.
Right. It's just unbelievable. I think some of it's the exposure of the Kelseys and Taylor Swift, and that made them an easier target. And then with the way that they've won these games this year, I mean, they could so easily be sitting at 9-4. Instead, they have one loss on the season, and that was in Buffalo. All right, last one for me. I almost feel like each week you come up with a different tagline or something for when a guy scores or makes a play. What's been your favorite one that you've put out there so far?
I don't know that I have a favorite per se. I just started calling Josh a beast, I think, last year because he is. Like, I think it fits. But the one, I don't know, maybe it's the one that made you laugh a couple of weeks ago when I said barefoot is beautiful on a Mac Hollins touchdown
That
against the
I,
49ers.
I have that in my notes.
Maybe it's that one. My wife is a huge Mac Hollins fan. She follows him on Instagram because have you followed his Instagram? He's got these like daily
Yes.
things that he does. He has a theme every month. Like, he had home improvement little hacks that he was doing every day for a month. I think that was in October. Then he had something else for November. Now he's doing, I think, 10-minute workouts every day on his Instagram handle. Like, he's a renaissance man. I don't know what it is, but it's funny because my wife was talking to one of her girlfriends. She's like, "I follow him too. I think he's awesome." So he definitely appeals to the female side of the fan base in a big way with how he engages and interacts on his social media. Um, and I think what he's done on the field for this team and in the locker room has just been amazing. He is, I know I've told you this already just in our conversations, but he is the quintessential glue guy.
Yep.
And, he's got some quirks about him. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, I went down to breakfast Sunday morning and, there he is walking around barefooted at breakfast. It's like, have you ever gone to a meal that wasn't on a beach barefoot? Like, it's like
No.
there's like etiquette and stuff that's involved with that too. You know what I mean? So just seeing him walk around an eating area barefoot just didn't feel right for a whole bunch of reasons, but that's who he is and he makes it work.
Oh, he's the most interesting man in the world. Ryan Fitzpatrick was telling a story or tweeted something about how Mac Hollins was going to Chipotle every single day when they played together in Miami. And then I guess he was getting a bowl which gives you more ingredients, but then would ask for the wrap on the side. And they started charging 25 cents for that. So then he quit going to Chipotle because of the principle of it, just based upon the principle, not because he didn't want to pay the quarter, but because they switched up the protocol on him. He quit going to Chipotle. He
Yeah.
is fascinating to me. Those daily Instagrams, it's like, I mean, normally I wouldn't be drawn to that type of thing. But I'm all of a sudden find myself watching Mac Hollins teach me how to load a dishwasher. I
Well,
mean,
he got the where he got me and my wife was when she comes running into the room. She goes, "Look at what he did. He told you how to fold the bed sheet, you know, the stuff with the elastic on the corners that you put on your mattress."
yep.
I'm just telling you, my wife and I, our hack is we can't fold it to make it look good. So we just fold it as best as we can, fold the one pillowcase, fold the sheet, and then throw it in the pillowcase, the other pillowcase, and then just put that whole thing in the closet. And that's as good as it's going to look. And he did it in 6 folds. And I'm sitting there with my mouth hanging open going, I thought this was impossible to fold properly, but he's turning the corners inside out or something. And I was just like, all right, I got to give it to him. He's got that down. So I don't know. You're right. He's like that beer commercial guy. He's the most interesting man in the world.
I know it. We got to get him on the podcast. He's probably the most requested podcast guest I've had. A lot of times it's easier to get the players on in the off season, but Center on Buffalo listeners, we will get you that. All right, Chris, thank you for the time. Looking forward to the call this weekend in Detroit. It's bound to be another good one here. Appreciate the time, brother.
All right. We'll see you later in the week.
Yes, sir. I know you've seen me rocking these awesome t-shirts weekly on the podcast or around the games or on social media. Go check them out at bluecheesemafia.com. They'll make the perfect Christmas gift for the Bills fan in your life.